Hello and welcome to the Flourishing Introvert Talks with me, Jo Rawbone. This is the podcast that celebrates the natural gifts of introverts so that we can flourish in all situations. Episode 215, Self-Promotion Without the Ick. If my inbox and messages are anything to go by, this should prove to be quite a popular episode. Because there comes a time in any ambitious introvert's career when they realise that they need to master self-promotion. Most of my introverted clients feel sick at the very prospect, but they know it's an obstacle to overcome if they're going to get the promotion they so richly deserve. In a world that can often seem to reward the loudest voices and the boldest actions, introverts tell me that they find themselves feeling overlooked and undervalued in their careers. Yet, the qualities that define introversion, deep thinking, focused attention, and a preference for solitude can be powerful assets in the workplace. Despite this, many introverts struggle with self-promotion, finding it uncomfortable or even intimidating. Given the pace of business today, hoping your work speaks for itself is a risky strategy, as only the very best managers and leaders will notice your work. So, self-promotion becomes a necessary necessary skill. So in this episode, my intention is to remove some of the fear straight away and offer several strategies that keep your integrity and authenticity intact. Let's start by recognising that self-promotion is not about changing who you are. Rather, it's about communicating your value effectively to others. It is simply the act of showcasing your relevant achievements, skills, capabilities, and potential to others, so you give yourself a fair chance of sitting at the table. This table, of course, is the one where you can advance your career, attract opportunities, and build your personal brand, so it's an important table to sit around. Self-promotion is not bigging yourself up or over-inflating your ego. However, for introverts, those of us who thrive in quieter, more solitary environments, self-promotion, even when others do it, can feel uncomfortable and downright unnatural. So for us to do it for ourselves, it's daunting. Part of the problem is that extroverts seem to seek out the spotlight and effortlessly, shamelessly even, shine in the process. It's one of the things that, if we're honest, many career-minded introverts often wish they were able to do, but in our own way. Well, you are able to do it, and this episode is about how you can self-promote with integrity. After all, integrity and authenticity are so important to many of us, and what matters is relevancy. You're not crowing or making a big deal about everything you're doing. You're showcasing relevant information. Let's start by understanding the introvert's dilemma. It's true that we face unique challenges as we're typically more reserved and introspective by nature, preferring our solitude or those small group meaningful interactions, and we tend to keep our heads down. Most of my clients report that they feel uncomfortable drawing attention to themselves and struggle with even the idea of self-promotion because they'd hate to come across as arrogant or boastful. This struggle is compounded by the issue that many of we introverts have, which is of underestimating the value of our own contributions. Now, I'm all for humility in the right places. It's actually an excellent leadership quality in my mind. But we have to face the fact that this tendency towards blanket humility is likely to hinder career advancement. So we need to find ways to be visible and attract rightful recognition, as both are crucial factors in climbing the corporate ladder or achieving entrepreneurial success for that matter. So now we get to the powerful bit. Stay with me and keep an open mind. I'm going to share some techniques for authentic self-promotion. Because the good news is that whilst self-promotion may not come naturally to most of we introverts, it is a skill that can be developed with practice and intention. The key is to find strategies that align with your personality and comfort level, allowing you to showcase your accomplishments authentically. And remember, the more you do this, the more you expand your comfort zone. Here are some techniques tailored specifically for introverts. Number 1, cultivate a strong online presence. For introverts who prefer written communications over face-to-face interactions, a strong online presence can be a really effective way to showcase your achievements. Start by optimizing your LinkedIn profile, highlighting your skills, experiences and accomplishments in a professional manner. And if you don't have a LinkedIn profile yet, it's time to get one. I've decided it's going to be one of the bonus trainings in my Frustrated to Flourishing program. And there's good reason why. LinkedIn is the place to regularly share your thought leadership pieces, insightful articles, industry updates and personal achievements, because that's going to demonstrate your expertise and engage your professional network. I prefer written communications because it allows me to carefully craft what I really want to say in a message, editing where necessary, so I can showcase my knowledge and skills in a way that feels natural. And it's good practice, as most senior level promotion processes require a written application and a business case. Number 2, craft your narrative. Whether you're utilising written communications or speaking, one of the most powerful tools in self-promotion is storytelling. Introverts can leverage their ability to think deeply and reflectively by crafting compelling narratives that highlight their achievements and unique strengths. Rather than simply listing accomplishments, focus on telling a story that illustrates the challenges you faced, the actions you took, and the outcomes you achieved. That's what people really want to know, and it allows you to communicate your value in a more authentic and a more engaging way, a way that people want to listen to. No one wants to hear the "when I's" endlessly drone on. I'm sure you've been in their presence. When I did this, when I did that. Where's the story? Number 3, build trust with advocates and allies. This follows on beautifully from the alliance topic I talked about in the last episode. Building a support network of advocates and allies who will sing your praises to those in power is incredibly valuable for introverts. Cultivate relationships with colleagues, mentors or supervisors who recognise and appreciate your contributions. And don't hesitate to seek their support when it comes to promoting your achievements. When you receive motivational feedback or recognition for your work, don't keep it to yourself. Find a way of sharing it with others that you're comfortable with. Again, this isn't being boastful, it's owning your gifts, talents and achievements. Whether it's testimonials, recommendations or endorsements from trusted sources, they can all lend credibility to your accomplishments and help you to overcome any reservations you may have about self-promotion. Let me say a little more about credibility whilst we're on the subject. You may have heard me say this before, and I make no apology for repeating it. David Maister, who is well respected in the professional services circles, has an equation about trust. He says that trust equals credibility plus reliability plus intimacy, that's the ability to build relationships for you and I, divided by self-orientation. I use this equation so often, both as a guide and as a diagnostic. If trust between us is not where it needs to be, what's missing? Is there a lack of demonstrated credibility? Talk is cheap, remember. It's aligned actions that matter. Is there a lack of reliability? Too many people overpromise and underdeliver because they struggle to say no. The golden rule here, of course, is underpromise and overdeliver. Next, do we know each other well enough? Have I bothered to find out what makes you tick? And have you shown enough interest in me to understand what makes me tick? And finally, the denominator. If our conversations are always about me and my agenda, that means my self-orientation denominator is too high and going to reduce trust drastically. So I need to make sure that I'm finding out about you and your agenda. What's important to you? What's going to make a difference to you? I know it can be difficult for introverts to build relationships and trust, but as John Donne rightfully said, no man is an island. Humans need connection, even we introverts. Number 4 on the techniques is focus on adding value. One of the most effective ways for introverts to promote themselves without feeling uncomfortable is to focus on adding value to others. And that's the sort of thing that's going to balance that self-orientation piece. Instead of approaching self-promotion as a one-sided endeavour, focused solely on advancing your own interests, seek opportunities to contribute to the success of others and the broader community. This means that you don't have to draw attention to yourself quite as much and can approach self-promotion from a more altruistic standpoint. Volunteer for projects or initiatives where you can leverage your strengths and expertise to make meaningful impact. Offer to mentor junior colleagues or share your knowledge and insights with others in your field. By positioning yourself as a willing, helpful and generous resource, you can naturally attract recognition and opportunities without having to resort to overt self-promotion tactics. My 5th and final technique is to celebrate your achievements. Introverts often downplay their accomplishments or shy away from recognition. So the first thing to do is acknowledge and then celebrate your achievements and progress. You may have noticed recently that I celebrated 55,555 unique downloads of this podcast. That's small fry to some, but it's an important achievement for me. You see, how will you be able to share your achievements with others if you can't admit them to yourself? So learning to celebrate your achievements is an important part of self-promotion. Take pride in your successes and know it's not a sin. Make a note of them so they don't conveniently slip from your memory, and decide who you're going to share them with. I suggest you choose someone from your support network first, then decide how you're going to let the boss know. I was taught this magic technique of focusing on the benefit or the outcome rather than the achievement itself, and it makes self-promotion so much easier for me. Not sure what I mean? Well, let me share an example. One of the things that really stayed with me after completing my MSc in change agent skills and strategies was that I can build strong and productive relationships with people even if I initially struggle to click with them. You see, in this example, the MSc becomes a bit of a throwaway because I'm saying something about the relationship building skill set. But what people will have absolutely heard is that I completed a master's. With any luck, that will prompt the question, what happened during your MSc then? Which opens the door for me to say more about my experience and my achievement. So whether it's a project you completed ahead of schedule, glowing client feedback, or new clients that you've won, find a way to highlight your contributions and the impact that achievement made. So, do you feel now that you can engage in some authentic and relevant self-promotion without feeling so ick? It's what some of the participants on the Becoming Braver adventure decided to do, and it worked beautifully. In conclusion, then, mastering the art of self-promotion as an introvert is not about changing who you are or becoming something that you're not. It doesn't have to be daunting or uncomfortable. Instead, it's about finding ways to showcase your achievements and talents in a manner that feels authentic to you. And what matters is relevancy. You're not crowing or making a big deal about everything you're doing, just the things that are relevant to your career aspirations or to the person you're talking to. By leveraging your unique strengths, such as deep thinking, focused attention, and a preference for meaningful connections, you can effectively promote yourself and advance your career without sacrificing your introverted nature. Will it require expanding your comfort zone? For sure. Is that possible? Absolutely. So embrace your introversion, tell your story, and intentionally advance your career with grace and authenticity. If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, then please subscribe, rate us, and leave a comment, because we know that helps other people find the podcast. And if other people find us, other introverts can flourish.